Hi there, my name's Jan from JB Crafts and I'm back today with the next tutorial in my colour theory series of videos. I started these a few weeks ago and they've been received very well. You guys seem to be enjoying them a lot. Trying to break down colour theory into a more simplistic way of using a colour wheel, for example. I have this in my stash and I've had it for quite a while now. You can get these, they're readily available online. I buy most of my things from Amazon. So if you want to add one of these, you can. You don't actually need it. Once you've learned the theory behind the colour, you can make these by yourselves if you feel like it. But I just think it's a nice piece of equipment to have in your kit if you struggle with putting colours together. And that's what this series is all about. So I've done 4 videos prior to this one, which are all on my channel. So if you haven't seen those yet, if you've just come across this one today, it's worth going back and having a look at the previous videos, because we started right at the very beginning with what colour theory is. And I'm not going to keep going through that now because there's plenty of tutorials on there now for you to actually catch up with if you haven't seen them. So we're going to start today and just do a very quick recap, because a couple of things do come into play. But the 4 that I've done already, the first one was all about primary colours, and then we went on to the secondary colours. We've also talked about tertiary colours, which are the colours that appear in between the primary and the secondary. Last week we did complementary colours, and these are colours that are opposite each other on the colour wheel. Things like red and green, the violet and the yellow, the blue and the orange, things like that, and any of the ones in between. Now we're going to sort of do an extra layer to the complementary colours, and today we're going to talk about split complementary. So this is where you take a main focal colour, for example the violet, and instead of coming straight down for its complementary, we're going to split either side of that colour. And it's actually done on the diagram here. It shows you to come from your chosen spot colour, your main colour here, and follow it down. This would be your complementary, but we're going to split that by coming either side of it. So this is what I've actually done for you guys today, and I've got a few samples to show you. We're going to put one together doing another. I've tried to do different colour themes so that you get the idea of this. And that's where we're going to have a look at it today. And then one of the definitions that I brought in, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, was the word tint. And this is any of your colours. So you have your pure colour on the outside, which is the hue, and any of your colours that you start adding white to become a tint of that first pure colour. And the reason I've recapped that today is because I have gone with the more pastel shades rather than the prominent pure colours up at the top. So I'm sort of a little bit further down here. And same with these ones, coming into here a little bit with that white. So eventually the yellow would become cream. And obviously you get much lighter versions of the colour that you start with. So for my sample today, for my first sample, this is actually what I made. And I got hooked on this because this is a great one for scrap busting as well. I actually did it for colour theory, but it's great for using your paper scraps as well. So I actually chose my violet colour, and as you can see, I came down considerably into these lighter shades to get the more of a lilac rather than that true violet colour. So I went through my scrap pile and chose some bits of paper that fit this colour band, and then came straight across to either side. So I'm now in the orange yellow band, and again you can see here we've got a floral and I've got a piece of plain cardstock, and then the other side of it was the green yellow, and again you can see this is coming much more into that sort of tint of the main colour, a little bit darker here, but you're still within those family of colours. And then of course I've added my little pearls on there just in the 3 colours, and this is a great way of deciding your colour scheme for a chosen project. And then what I did is I chose the main colour, which was my violet, to do the matte layer on the back, and then this one I've actually sort of raised it up on foam tape and just stamped in the background here, so we've got a little bit of shadowing going on. I haven't done the insides of these today. I'd rather work on doing more examples of the design and the colorways for you rather than keep doing all the internal parts of the card. But just another layer with a nice greeting on if you wish. It's not necessary, but you know that I like to do that on a lot of my designs. So that was the first one that I did, and we're going to recreate something similar, but I'm actually going to go landscape in orientation, and I'm going to go down a size with the hexagons. So I'll just pop that on there for a second. And I actually used my nesting dies for this. I have a set of nesting dies which are a stitched hexagon here. You can see I've got a couple missing, which are the ones that I've actually used there. So I first of all started with this size, and just to give that a little measure, from straight edge to straight edge, this one's about 1.5 inches, you can just see there. And that's what I use for this particular design. You can see they just fit nicely, and I use the same one to cut the aperture in the card there. So that was the first one that I used. And then I'm going to go down a size. So this is the next one in the nest. So if you look here, you can see that this one's come out from that next layer. So this one from straight edge to straight edge is 1.25 inches. So we've come down 1/4 inch, and I'm going to use that smaller one. And if I'm honest, the samples I did with the smaller hexagon I actually preferred, but again, there's no reason why you can't make them larger, smaller. You know, it's entirely up to you. And you can do this with other shapes as well. If you don't have hexagons, you can actually do this with squares or triangles, things like that. So let's just pop those to one side for a second. We'll move the colour wheel out of the way now. Well, actually, I'll just keep this for a second because I'm going to show you the colourway that I'm going to do today. So what I chose was I went round a little bit this way and went to the blue violet as my main colour. So I'm not quite on the pure violet. It is a blue violet that I've chosen today, which is a cross of the violet mixed with the blue. Okay, so we've got our primary colour, our secondary colour brings us into one of those tertiary shades. And what I did was have a look through my scrap box and came up with some bits of scrap. Okay, let me just check I'm on the right. Yes, I am on the right. Am I on the right bit, or did I come? Maybe it was that one. Yeah, looking at my other two colours, it was the violet blue. My apologies. Yes, the violet blue is still one of the tertiaries. And I've got some plain card and some patterned paper that, again, I've just grabbed out of my scrap stash. I keep all my scraps filed in colours, so this was nice and easy to do. So that's the blue. And then if we follow it down to the complementary colour and come either side, I needed an orange yellow. So I've chosen that same yellow that I used on that first design and added in a little bit of floral as well. I like to mix the solids with the florals, so that's my yellow. And then if we go the other side of the complementary colour, we come to the orange. And again, I've got some shades of orange from my stash as well. So that's the colourway that we're going to do on our design today. So we can pop that to one side now. I've kept all my cards the same size. I've worked on 5x7 card blanks. These are actually standard shop bought card blanks. It's just a nice size to work on, and I'll show you the mat layers when we get to start matting and layering. But my first piece that I'm going to work on is actually a piece of 6x4. Now I cut this with a die, but again, if you don't have dies, you can just cut this with your trimmer or your guillotine. And I want to work on this way. So what I did is I used all my scraps here with the little hexagon, and I've actually got a few of these ready cut. So I've got a couple of the yellows, I've got some oranges left, and the blue ones, the plain blue, I've just popped through an embossing folder just to give it a little bit more definition. Don't know whether the camera's actually picking that up there. Just flip it over, you can sometimes see the other side. So yeah, again, optional, you don't have to do that. You know, you could stamp on some of them if you wish. There's lots of different ways of doing this. So I have got more of these because I've started the design just to speed up the process a little bit. So we'll move those out of the way. And what you want to do is decide where you want that design. So in the original one, I came across sort of at a diagonal from top left over to bottom right. Now I'm going to go, as I say, on the landscape this time. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a piece that comes over one corner. So we're going to start down here, we're going to fill this line and then slowly taper it out up to that corner. So what I've done is I've made a start on that, because obviously the sticking can be a little bit of a lengthy process. But you can see here I've got exactly the same size piece of card here, the 6x4, and I've started laying down my designs here. Now the patterned yellow actually had, it was two-sided, so you can see I've just flipped one of them here to add a little bit more interest. And then we've got the same with the patterned on the blue. I've actually used this side of it because I didn't want that busy pattern against this one, so I've used the other side here. So again, double-sided papers come in great because you're going to get two for the price of one. And then what I did was lay all this out so that I had an idea, and I would recommend that you do this. You lay it all out dry, because it can get a bit tricky about whether you're going to have colours next to each other or whether you want to try and separate them out. So lay it all out dry, and then what I've done is I've just made a little bit of a key. So I've got BF is the blue floral, so this one's going to fit in here. Then we're going to have a yellow one in, like so. And then I'm going to use the apricot one in here. And then I've got an apricot floral, which we'll just choose a little bit of the pattern, because that's going to go cut off the edge. And it does look nice when they actually start scattering off the edge. And then we've got the navy embossed piece. And then the very last piece will just be a touch of yellow. So you can see we've gone that across the corner there. So we'll leave the die there. I'll pop my piece of cardstock to one side, and what we're actually going to do is start popping these down onto the design. So I am going to just stick these last few, and I'm going to use my wet glue because it just gives me a little tiny bit of wriggle room in order to get these in place. So again, if you're not a fan of wet glue, you can use tape. You could use your tape runners, but I just think it's safer with the wet glue personally, because you can move them around. And what I've done is I've left a tiny, I would say it's probably less than 1/8 of an inch in between them. You can pop them all up together, but I just like that little bit of the white showing. And this is what I mean about using the wet glue there. It just gives you a chance to get them in place and actually sort out this gap between them there. And then I'm just going to work my way around them, adding some of that wet glue. And I've just chosen my PVA glue for this one. Gives a bit faster a stick on mine there. So again, that one's going to lie, and I'm just looking at all these little spaces where I've got the white showing. Okay, what I am going to just do is pop my silicone mat under there, just so that I can try and spare my desk from the glue. It'll not stick to this one the same, so we'll just put that on there. And then again, we're going to go with the plain apricot one here in the middle. So that one's going to have its glue layer. You don't need masses of glue for this. And then again, I'm just eyeballing that gap, but you should end up with, you know, this line running parallel with the point here. This line runs parallel with the point on this one, and then you've got that gap here. So you can see whether they're going down straight or not. Now this one, I only need to do the bottom half of this, because we're going to cut the excess away from round the edge. And all of a sudden, that pattern comes into play when you cut away those other extra pieces. So that one's just going to nestle in there. We're going to pop the navy one, and as I say, I've just popped these through a swirly embossing folder, but you could use any embossing folder. Again, you don't have to do, not all of them I've used an embossing folder. I've got some other samples to show you at the end of the tutorial, but it just adds another layer of interest. And then this one, we really do only need a little bit. What I tend to do is put my tweezers where the card finishes here, and then I know that I only need to pop the glue below that level, and I don't need that outer corner either. So I think we should be good to go like that. Okay, get all those in place, and then I am just going to use my cloth there to get rid of any excess glue off the back of them. There we go. And then I'm going to bring in my large scissors then and just trim along those outside edges there. So I prefer to do this from the back, and I'm going to use my card here just to get the scissors lined up and just trim away anything that is overhanging the back of the card there, because I want to bring it back to that 6x4 size. So that's one side, and then we're going to come down this long side, and again I'm just using the cardstock to get my scissors lined up against and get that nice cut all the way down. And if you do this with larger scissors, you can do that big long cut and not have to keep sort of snipping. And I'm going to go right the way across that one and then take that little corner off. Okay, so we'll get rid of those pieces. If you want to save any of them, if you're making more than one card, then you can do that. And then when we do the reveal, you can see now how it brings it all into place with the design. Really, really pretty style. As I say, I got hooked on this. I've just sort of made loads and loads of samples. So what we're going to do next is choose a greeting. So I'm going to bring in my stamping apparatus here, and we're just going to choose a little greeting. Now, the one that I did on the original sample, I actually used my hexagon to cut an aperture and then stamped on a scrap piece that I've put in underneath. Now this time I'm going to stamp straight onto the actual card design, but if that worries you slightly, I know some people don't like stamping onto the actual piece of card that they're going to use, but if that does worry you, you know, you can do a little greeting to stick on top of here. And for my greetings, this is a set that, again, I've had quite a while. I think it came out of an old subscription box for Crafter's Companion, and it's got some really nice sentiments in here. So what we're going to do then is have a little look and see. I'm just looking at my other samples to see which ones I've used there. I've used a thank you. That one had hello friend. So again, we'll just try. We'll do the hope you're feeling better soon. I think that's a nice size to fit in there. Okay, so all I'm going to do then is position this whereabouts I want it in my design. Just eyeballing to make sure it's as straight as it can be. And then we're going to close that lid and pick up the stamp. And I'm going to stamp this in a nice black ink. So I've just got my VersaFine Clair here, which is a really nice crisp black. I am going to ink up that stamp and then give it a gentle press, because they're only a little acrylic stamp. I don't want to squash the greeting. And I do like to do twice. I always think once is good, but twice is better, just to make sure that we're getting a nice depth of that black ink. And this is the beauty of having the stamping systems. So again, let that ink transfer. We can put the lid back on that one, and then we've got that nice greeting. So again, I am just going to take my cloth and take any excess off the stamp, pop that one to one side, and then we've got our stamped panel good to go. So you can see we've got that combination of colours there. Oh, I've managed to get a little bit of goop on there. Let's have a look. What did I do with my eraser? See if that will bring it off. I'm not sure what that's off. Nearly. Not too bad. Okay, so we've taken the blue as our main colour, and then we've split those complementary colours, and we've gone besides it for the yellow, orange and the orange one there. Okay, so all I need to do now then is bring in some layers. I'm going to bring my card blank in, 7x5 inch card, and then again I've gone for that blue, that prominent colour, that main colour choice, and I've done my matte layer, and I've come just 1/4 inch bigger than my panel, and I've gone 6 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to use my tape runner to add this one in place. Oops. Like so. So we'll just run this all the way around the edge. and then get this one in place. So I just need to make sure that orientation's right on my card again. So we're going to go landscape with this one. I do actually prefer to stick them in portrait because I don't know, I just find it easier to get them straight when it's this way up rather than on the horizontal. We can turn it round again, pop that one down and give that a nice press into place. And then I'm going to keep this one flat today. I have used some foam tape on some of the samples, but we'll just do this one nice and flat. And again, I'm going to stay with that tape runner. And then again, I'm going to keep it horizontal, but just be mindful that my fold is the top. So this panel wants to go this way. And again, I've just got that slight border. There's an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around to just highlight that blue being the main colour. And then on the designs, I just added a little tiny embellishment, and I've got a tiny little bow on this one. So again, I've got a couple of different designs here. You can see I've got, that's the open one that I used on the sample, and then I've got a closed one which creates this kind of design, and I've just kept that as a theme throughout the cards. As I say, I've got some more to show you, so we'll decide where we're going to put that one. And then I've also got just a few little pearls, and again, I've been in my stash, had a look at those colours, and I've just got 2 of each colour. So I've got 2 of that orangey tone, I've got 2 yellow ones and 2 blue ones, the second one being on the bow. So the first thing that I'm going to do is decide whereabouts we want the bow. Just got some of those little hairs from the die cut there. So again, we'll pop this one, and I think I like to sort of go in between, I think maybe over that way. I think it looks nice. That's too close to the edge. That's too far in the card for me. I think I'm going to go on that one just there. So again, a little bit of wet glue. So this is just my PVA glue here. Doesn't need a lot on there. And I'm going to go, I think, yeah, where those 3 join like that. Give that a little press down, just hold it for a second. And that's going to be sort of just that little embellishment to add to it. And then we can decide whereabouts we want the rest of the colours. So I've got 2, let's have a look. We'll position these so that I can decide where they're going to go. Maybe see if we can cover up the little faux pas over there. So if we go maybe like so, we'll have a blue one in the middle there, and we'll come back with the orange and the yellow nearer the bottom. I think if I bring it down to cover both of those, that's going to look far too regimental with them lined up. I like to have them a bit more at an angle. Yeah, that looks good to me. So all I'm going to do now then is just use my wet glue there and do a tiny little bit, because these are not self-adhesive. I have a whole bag of these that are just mixed colours, and I just use a little tiny spot of that glue to anchor them in place. So no particular pattern, just following the design. Across the page, so it's just travelling along there across the page, and that is my design. So I've kept it nice and simple today. As I say, this would be a great one for the scrap busting, because all the pieces that I've used, I've got some more samples to show you, have all come from my scrapbooks. I haven't cut into any sort of major pieces of cardstock. It's all come out of the scraps. So if you're like me and you've got a massive amount of scraps going on, this is a really nice one to do. And trust me, it was very addictive. When I started with this layout with the hexagons, I was like, I need to keep going. I'd got so many different ideas, so many colorways. If you think about all the different colors on that wheel, you know, you change it to any color and you've got that split complementary. So wherever you land on the wheel here, it doesn't matter what you pick as your main color, you've got that split complementary, which is what we've focused on today. So that's one. Let's go back to the wheel there. We'll just move that one out of the way for a second. So I landed on the violet blue on this one for my chosen colour, which was my background, and then I followed it straight across and gone each side to the orange and the orange yellow. So that's the one that we've just made. If I flick it back to the violet. This was the one that I showed you with the larger hexagons, and again, you know, it's personal preference. Let me know in the comments, do you prefer the larger ones, do you prefer the smaller ones? I've got one where I've used both, so again, you know, you can sort of use different sizes. So again, this was the main color, was the violet. We've traveled straight across and we went either side to the orange yellow and the green yellow. So that was the one that I showed you at the beginning of the video. And then I had a look at other colorways. Another of my favorite colors is that teal color, which is your blue green. It's a mixture of your primary blue and your secondary green. So I chose this as my main color, followed it straight across, and ended up with red and red orange. Now, a lot of you will know that I'm not a big lover of red. I know red has its place, Valentine's, poppies for remembrance, things like that, but I tend to come into these tints. If you remember, we said when we used a tint, it was just adding white and bring it into this pink layer. So if I actually bring you the next design in, this was very similar to what we've done here. I've just gone the opposite corner, but I've gone portrait on this one. And again, you can see that teal up here is my main colour, and I've chose that for the background. And then I came down to the orange and into those pinks there, a little bit darker pink. This was the reverse of one of them. So again, that is a different design. And again, just highlighted it with the pearls again. So that was that one. And then I decided to go into the greens, and I think we landed on yellow green. It was just a case of showing you as many different colorways as I could. So the yellow green straight across comes back into, again, I've used the pink with the red violet, and I love this one. I don't know what it is about this one. I think it's just the choice of colors. So again, I've used the smaller hexagon in the background. I've got those greens and the green for my mat because that was my main color. And then I brought in those shades of the lilac, which is the red violet, and the pinks for the red, that tint of red, making it into the pink. And this one, this is a separate panel. I did it in exactly the same way where they overlap the edge, and then I've just trimmed it down each side. And that one measures, I think it was a couple of inches, yeah, 2 inches across, and the length of my 6x4 inch panel. And just added the larger, I said that the larger hexagon started to come into play. So this was the next one up. So this is slightly larger than this one. So I've used 3 different sizes so far. And I've just used that to stamp my greeting on to keep the theme. Again, you can see those little bows just being a feature. I'd use the closed one on this one, the open one again on this one. And then I went rogue. I must admit I went rogue because the colour wheel sort of went out the window for a second, because I just thought this would be great in a more neutral tone to do for the guys. So yeah, don't get me wrong, any of these would be suitable. But yeah, this actually moved away from the Split Complementary, but loved this when it was finished. So I've actually gone with brown here, which we'll talk about in later videos because that is a mix of colours. But all these neutral tones, and again, I've used all 3 sizes now with the hexagons. I've actually got, in fact, I introduced a 4th one as well. So if I just grab these back, I use this one up here for a focal point. I've used the smaller ones in here. And then I actually went down again, right down to the little baby one in the middle, because I just felt when I'd finished, it needed that extra bit of something. So I've just added a couple of those in right at the end. And I've got all sorts of neutral tones in this one. So I've got sort of book paper. I've got some that's got texture prints on. This one was from an old piece of map paper, along with this has got a map on it. And just wanted to use those, and again use that brown as the spot colour in the background. Slightly different sentiment, and I haven't included the bow on this one. But again, just a few pearls on here to follow that, bring your eye across the design. So yeah, a little bit rogue. That doesn't fit the Split Complementary colours, but I just wanted to see what it looked like in those neutral tones and think this would be perfect, you know, for any occasion for a fella. It would really look nice. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that one into the mix. So again, lots and lots of designs for you to have a look at today. These are the ones that I did as samples, and then this is the one that we did in the tutorial today. So lots and lots of different colorways with that split Complementary. So yeah, I'm going to move some of these out of the way now because obviously there's a lot of distraction going on there, and I'm going to leave the one in play that we've just done together on the video. So this is the one that we've just made with those split complementary colours, and absolutely loved. I got very addicted to playing with the hexagon. So if you do give this a try, don't forget to share it. Pop along to my Facebook page at JB Crafts and you can let me see what you've been playing with. And trust me, leave some time, because I just literally couldn't stop playing with all the hexagons. They fit together so well, just to make those different shapes, different designs. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up for me. It does help with the channel. And I know a lot of you have subscribed now, but if you are new to the channel, if you've just come across me today, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell, so that will tell you next time I'm about to upload a new tutorial for you. And yeah, thank you very much for the support. I will be back very soon with the next tutorial, and I'll see you then. Bye bye for now.